Rockets cannot win a road game this season, and Alperen Sengun continues his incredible start to the season. Let's talk about it.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Summit State of Mind, presented to you by the Apollo Podcast Network. In this episode, we're going to discuss why the Rockets cannot win a road game this year, the Rockets' 8-8 start to the season, Alperen Sengun's continued torrid start to the season, and a Rockets versus Lakers preview. GM, let's go straight into it. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not talk differently about it. I want to go straight into it. But before I do have a question for our listeners. Why have the Rockets not won a road game this year? Drop a comment on the video. Let us know how you feel. Drop it. I want to know your opinion. Jim wants to know your opinion. Let us know why the Houston Rockets have not won a road game this year. So comment on the video, super kick the subscribe button, like our video, and be sure to subscribe to our show. GM, I mean, the question's simple. I mean, what's going on? What's going on? We are 0-7 to start the year. I would have never predicted this.
Yeah.
With how well we've actually been playing this season and how good we've been overall. I mean, road games have been woes, but I mean we haven't played despicable road games by any means. We're not playing like the worst team in the league like the past 2 years. Why is it, GM? Why have the Rockets been winless on the road? Give me your opinion.
I feel like it's a myriad of issues that have come along with these road losses. Execution is definitely for one. That goes on the team and the coaching. I mean, I think everybody is held accountable in that regard for the losses. I mean, if you've seen every single game, we've been in it. Every single game. We haven't been blown out on the road outside of the most recent game against the Nuggets and the first game against the Magic. The common denominator with those is that the games are close and execution at the end was piss poor. That's about as easy as you can put it. Number two, youth. Youth is definitely a thing of where pressure makes diamonds. They're getting pressure in certain situations on the road that they haven't been able to handle yet or get a great grasp of. Those issues will roll along and they will get better as the season progresses. Right. I mean, 0-7 is terrible, but we've hit a string of bad luck. The schedule has been not so friendly to us. Back-to-backs. Denver on the second night of a back-to-back, not ideal after playing another top team in Dallas.
It's the weirdest.
Yeah.
It's been the weirdest schedule, I think, in NBA history, at least from a Rocket standpoint. They even talked about on the broadcast yesterday how weird it is. You know, you take, pretty much a week off, and then you play a ton of back-to-backs in between.
Yeah.
Maybe on account of the in-season tournament, obviously making all 30 teams adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
With the Rockets now out of the tournament, I don't get to wear my Rockets my in-season tournament.
Champions.
My NBA Cup T-shirt remains a dream. Maybe next year. Hopefully, if they hold it. But
maybe we'll get play-in champs. We'll advance to the actual playoffs.
I would like that. That would be nice, right? By the way, shout-outs to you and your vocabulary. I did enjoy the word myriad. I was oh, nice. Was that on your word of the day calendar? I'm sorry.
SAT words for days. I'm an educated young man.
Did you remember your SAT score? I don't usually remember.
No, I don't
SAT
remember
score.
at all.
I didn't score very well though. I did the retake and I think I got a couple hundred points. But
I did.
It wasn't it wasn't overly fantastic. All right, GM, you're getting me distracted. Good points overall. I think in terms of why this team has been struggling. I brought a few bullet points. For me, why have the Rockets been 0-7 on the road? I think it's a myriad of things, obviously.
Yeah.
I think lack of execution down the stretch. That can go both offensively, defensively. Just a lack of, committing. A lack of discipline and committing fouls down the stretch, which is, and I will shoot the blame on somebody here because it boils down to one person. That's the most aggressive person on defense. It goes down to Dillon Brooks, who has made a bunch of really bad fouls, and he's owned up to it. Shout outs to Dillon Brooks, who's owning to his to knowing his mistakes and isn't hiding from media scrums in any way. He's telling people, hey, this is on me. Like my team expects better of me, and I have not, I haven't been showing up to work like I should, especially down the stretch. Maybe a couple of fouls that he didn't commit down the road. You may be looking at, instead of 0-7, maybe 2-5. I think 2 or 3 of those games could have been winnable if Dylan didn't
there's
commit
definitely
a couple of fouls down the stretch.
There's quite a few of them.
Right,
sure.
especially, the Lakers game for Spurs game for another. This wasn't Dylan Brooks, but that Clippers game giving up that 3-1 by Jay Sean Tate. Like, there's just lack of execution down the stretch. Defensive lapses, obviously, that can be another point of contention. Unable to make clutch plays to seal games, like, you know what I mean? They have opportunities, and it's not like the Rockets have played behind most of these games. Like a lot of these margin for errors have been very slim. Like the Clippers game could have gone. I think Clippers game was a toss up. Lakers game is a toss up.
Yeah.
What else off the top of your head? I think there were multiple games that were toss ups for this team, and I think what it's boiled down to is a multitude. I like what you said in terms of youth. I think obviously youth being a big deal, and I think we don't give enough credit to Udoka, who is still learning the system within his team and finding the pieces that work that can win road games. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I know he probably just doesn't care. He's like, fuck it. I will go with whatever lineup works because I want to win a road game. Yeah. And I think that's, they've been snake bit. There's a multitude of issues here in terms of why they haven't, and I'm not like blaming it on refs had a hold of a couple of these games, the Clippers game being, highlighting it for one. There's just, they've been snake bit, like low key. Like it's not, I'm not going to solely blame one player. I'm not going to solely blame the team as a whole. I think there can be multiple blame put in, on other facets, on the refs, maybe a couple calls missed, a couple calls that were made that shouldn't have been called. I think, the 0-7 start, it looks terrible on paper, but it's not like we're losing 30 like we did in game 1 against the Magic. We've played multiple games where we've played well. Like, we've played well enough to win, in my opinion.
Most of the time, yeah.
The last, minute is where the game gets lost. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, we've held leads going into fourth quarters, I believe, in almost every game outside of the 2 big losses. We've been in every game.
The Spurs game should have been won,
absolutely.
By the way.
I mean, we were up a decent amount the last minute, and shit just goes haywire. I feel like it's just a matter of learning, watching film. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, I just believe like this team is gonna learn the woes, whatever the error of their ways. I mean, when Ime coached the Celtics, shout out to Brad, he put out the stat, the Celtics started out 8-8. What are the Rockets' record? 8-8. You told me we start 8-8, I would be like, holy crap, we're 500 at 16 games in? Like, we've been suffering the past 3 years, and now we're complaining, And the great thing about it is I'm not mad about the complaining. They've put themselves on such a high pedestal with their performance in the first 16 games that damn right we're a little mad. I'm not saying that.
I think they just want to win a road game. I don't think I don't think the fan base as a whole has pitchforks.
No, not like that.
Right.
I just believe that the fans' expectations have risen, so frustrations will definitely be spoken of in terms of these losses. The fans aren't saying like, "Oh man, at least we were close." It wasn't. That's how it was the last 3 years. Now the expectation going into every game is victory.
You gotta win,
and
right.
I love that. And I believe it's such a beautiful thing. And to see that we care this much, even though it is embarrassing, 0-7, it's not fun to talk about. But, the silver lining is that the overall record is 8-8. And we can only go up from here. 0-7 is not going to last forever.
Right. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And it pivots perfectly to our next subject, which the GM decided to jump the gun. Because we were going to talk about the 8-8 start, but he showed his cards a little too early. So I will take over the rest of this subject.
Touche.
We're going to talk about the 8-8 Rockets, featuring just me, the commish. Going to talk about the 8-8 start. No, I'm just kidding. The Houston Rockets. It segues perfectly into our next segment. Let's talk about it. The GM obviously wants to talk about it. Let's talk about the 8-8 start. If I were to tell you, GM, and our listeners, our wonderful listeners that subscribe to our channel, if I were to tell you in July, after you acquire Fred VanVleet, after you acquire Dylan Brooks, after you acquire Jock Londale, I giggle when I say that, after you draft Amen Thompson, draft Cam Whitmore, that you would be 8-8 to start the season, 8-8 within the first 16 games of the season. Also, shout-outs to Lashard Binkley because he's the one that put out this stat for us. He's a friend of the show, by the way. Shout-outs to you, my good man. He's been on our show before. The Rockets have had the 7th most difficult strength of schedule for the first 16 games of the season. The 7th most. That means there are 23 teams that have an easier schedule than the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
They've played the defending NBA champions 3 times. 3 times.
And they've won 2 of them.
And we've won 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
We've seen the Lakers multiple times. Not like they're like a crazy team, but they're still a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Like these are not easy games, and the fact that you're 8-8 to start the season, this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about it right now because I think it's really important that that our listeners also kind of get to enjoy what this is, because 8-8, I mean, it's a great start. You're talking about what this team is and what they represent and how far they've come to get here. I mean, you don't miss the 2-14 start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You were 2-14
Definitely
to start multiple seasons in the last couple of seasons here. The fact that you're 8-8,
Yeah.
8th seed currently, you're a play-in team if the NBA season starts today. Like, you are exactly where you need to be. Some can argue you are ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule. GM 8-8 to start the season, the first 16 games. Alperen Sengun playing like an all-star. Jalen Green finally coming around. Jabari Smith playing some consistent basketball. We're finally seeing right here.
King of consistency.
King of consistency. Fred VanVleet being a leader and veteran that we need. Dylan Brooks being the tough dog veteran that we finally have on our team with a little bit of attitude and aggression, coupled with Tari Eason and Jay Sean Tate to kind of round out that bench. Shouts to Aaron Holiday as well for kind of coming around and being that veteran backup point guard that we need. 8-8 start. How we feeling?
Feeling good, man. Overall, feeling good. Like,
I'm feeling good.
As Rockets fans, we should feel very
good.
Very blessed. I feel great.
Hashtag
Shout
blessed.
out to Tony Tiger.
Hashtag blessed.
That's what.
I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hashtag.
Stay hashtag blessed.
Jeez.
Go on.
Anyways, this team, based on the expectations to start the year, this is not where I believed we'd be. I thought we'd probably be 6-10, right on the cusp of 500. Probably lost a little close games in Houston. Maybe won a road game or 2
right
already. But 8-8 is really, really good, and that's something
Ain't it great?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because we're celebrating a 500 start, but when you look at it in the big picture, what we've suffered the last few years is absolutely something that we have to celebrate. Because to understand that being at a reclamation project and now we are turning the corner of where chapter 2 of this rebuild is starting to come around, and the right pieces are finally in place. Players are starting to play. Alp showing that he's a star. Jalen turning the corner of his inconsistencies, and Jabari Smith Jr. being exactly who we thought he'd be as the most consistent defender, three-point shooter, mid-range bucket. The man's been doing it all. Ime Udoka, Ben Sullivan, man, again, those guys, like, shout out to those guys. Give them their flowers. You know, a round of applause for the coaches, man. Yeah. Round of applause for the coach. Yeah. Wait, no, you know what? We'll give a yeet to the coaches. Yeet. One time for the coaches. Yeah, but it's the beauty of it all as fans. The team itself, there are certain kinks that you definitely want to kind of like work out, but it's all
part of the process.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah.
It's just the beginning. And you can already see the way the offense is starting to kind of even change a little bit. We're definitely one of the last teams in pace, but we're definitely tops in defense. I think we dropped after that game. You were number 1.
No, we were number 1. Yeah, so we have dropped. We've given up quite a.
Yeah,
it hasn't been pretty these last couple games.
But overall, it's quite a sight to see. There's hope, and for the first time in a long time, it's very exciting to be a fan. to see like a lot of these decisions, these players come into fruition. And thank goodness we have the right guy at the helm, and hopefully good decisions can be made come the trade deadline. Where we can bring in maybe one more piece, kind of put us just a little bit over the top without taking away from the guys. I mean, shout out to everybody. Fred VanVleet doesn't turn the ball over. We saw shades of Jalen Green handling the ball, probably having his best overall game as a professional last night against the Nuggets, and Aaron Holiday just picking up the pieces where men had his little cracks because of the injury. And then Alp, of course, being the main engine, the main cog that's chugging this team along. Like, it's very impressive to see. And, I want to shout out everybody. Dylan Brooks, possibly being the best defender in the league.
Yeah.
Being probably, in my opinion, probably the most important player on this team, because he's the reason why we have this dog mentality on the defensive end. If it wasn't for the defensive end, we would not be 8-8. So Dylan Brooks has a huge hand in building that culture and that responsibility. I think it's fair to give him his flowers. I was not for the Dylan Brooks signing. I'll gladly eat the crow. I'll gladly humble myself, unlike some other people. But I'll say this, Dylan Brooks definitely deserves it, and I'm very happy that he is a Houston Rocket. He hasn't gotten his own way most of the time.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, is that, if I want to tack a little bit on that Dylan Brooks thing, because what's been difficult for him is that committing so many fouls.
Yeah. Some are ticky-tack, but also I think his reputation precedes him.
It's a shame. And you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of, to a T, Ron Artest. Mm-hmm. If you remember Ron Artest, shouts to the old school Rockets fans that remember Ron Artest from the other Sacramento King days, or the one year he was in Houston. Ron Artest was somebody who the reputation preceded him, got a tech at any opportunity. They were refs were happy to give him a flagrant. But someone like Dylan Brooks, you just need that guy. Like, you need a Ron Artest. You need a Dylan Brooks to be on the team, because they become the most important, like you said, arguably the most important piece of the team. Like, they do become them pseudo glue guys, not like a Shane Battier per se, because Dylan Brooks is putting up stats and he's definitely not a stat head like Shane Battier was. That's why I said I would put him more in the Ron Artest mold. But to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I agree 100% in terms of how this team has been able to succeed based on what was laid out before them. And people tend to forget, we are in the infancy of year one with Ime.
Yeah,
we are literally in its infancy right now. The first 16 games, the games are starting to chug along. We're 16 games now into the season. We still have 66 games remaining, so there's still a ton of games to be played, but these games are starting to, they're starting to creep up. However, we're still in year one, not even 30 games into the first season. So Ime Udoka, just like these fans are growing and we're getting growth now within the fan base, and fans that have left and stopped watching are coming back, and I love it. Fans that are listening in now and watching now that haven't watched these past several years, come on in, please. Pack Toyota Center. We would love it. We need it. We need people in the stadium. We need people in Toyota Center to get loud and proud and to show, the rest of the NBA that, we're a real team again. It takes a totality of everybody. So it's not just that. It's also the fact that, these guys have decided to come together. They came in at training camp and they made it a point to say, no, we're not taking L's anymore.
Yep.
Like, this is it. We're going to start, making a leap into relevancy and making a leap possibly into the playoffs, and maybe within the next year or two, maybe contend. Like, I would love for that to be the case. Maybe 2 years from now we can contend. You never know. Maybe if they get another core piece, maybe next year we're in the top 4. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, and that's what I love about this right now. You buy the stock now while it's hot. You buy the stock now before, it gets too big, and that's what I love about the 8-8 start. GM as well, to add on top of that, the good thing about this schedule is that after the 8-8 start, we officially have, shouts to Lashard Binkley once again, friend of the show, who said we now have the 6th easiest strength of schedule with the rest of the 66 games remaining.
Let's take it.
And I've said this before, and this can kind of put a bow on the first 2 segments. I think if the Rockets get one road win, guys, and I'm calling it now, the Rockets see one road win. We always say this in Apollo. Don't let the boys get hot.
Yep.
Don't let the boys get hot.
Don't let
all
them
they
get
gotta
hot.
see is one road win. People tend to forget we started the season 0-3.
Yep.
And I always said this, and you can check my receipts in the past episodes. You can tell them all we need to see is one win.
Yep.
Just see one win. And if they get one win on the road, I'm telling you right now, they could start like getting closer to 500. I think if they can tack one win on the road,
absolutely,
they can get a string of road wins. I think they can maybe win 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the 6 easiest strength of schedule. So I'm hoping that we can kind of use that to kind of build the next phase here as we kind of start going into the 66 games of the season. So 6 easiest strength of schedule. It's a good place to be, right?
Look into the season as like, 6-week report cards, Ken.
Oh,
think about it like
don't
that.
remind me.
Think about it in school.
Well, actually, it's different now. It's 9-week report cards. And,
and
4s as opposed to 6.
Says the
6
former
weeks.
teacher.
Just gotta let 'em know.
I'm gonna go old school. I don't like the whole
6 and 6
quadrant
weeks.
thing. That's fine. I like quadrants when it comes to stats, but when we're trying to build our own narrative here, we're going 6
All right,
week
6
report cards.
6-week report cards. I was an AB on rules student. Go on.
Think about it like that. Like if we progress every 6 weeks and the grades get better and better, then that is. I feel like that's what's gonna happen. This team's gonna go on a run. We haven't hit it yet. Like we were undefeated at home. We have 8 straight home wins, but this team is still bred to go on a run. And like I believe you're right, man. I totally agree with you that don't let the boys get hot, man.
Yeah, don't.
We
let
get
the
a
boys
dub
get hot.
on the road. Confidence.
Yeah,
don't give us
is key.
confidence.
Yeah, don't give them confidence. Don't give the boys confidence.
Don't do it.
They don't know better. They just don't know better right now.
You're damn right.
That'll pivot perfectly into our segue into our next subject because boy, I gotta tell you right now, we're 16 games onto the season. We've recorded multiple episodes per week.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, I'm not gonna say who, some people that I've read on Twitter have said that at some point there's gonna be a regression to Alp's game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's spotlight Alperen Sengun. His continued torrid pace to becoming an all-star this season. He is now up to 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 56% shooting, 30% from 3, plus 4.6 in points per game. So he's still a net positive every time he's on the court. GM, the numbers speak for itself. However, the torrid pace continues. It seems like every time people expect him to slow down, he continues to increase. He's now increased scoring. He started at around 18 and 19 per game, now up to 21. The road to the All-Star game is in full effect. What have we thought now? We're a couple weeks in from our first month of the season, 16 games in. Yeah. How are we feeling about LP now, being able to hold these numbers?
I think LP has really proven that he is the engine. You stated this from episode to episode that he is definitely the engine.
I did.
The thing is that we're running with what's best at this moment, and LP is the best player in terms of handling this offense. His PNR with Fred VanVleet.
Oh, we missed it yesterday.
We did. But I'm gonna tell you this, man.
We missed it.
When Jalen and LP went to that PNR,
it worked.
That's where things started to really move forward.
It worked.
LP is versatile, in which he can work with multiple ball handlers as long as they can get the ball to him in his spots as well. LP is really good at finding everybody. He's done a great job. Obviously, there's still little issues here and there in terms of execution down the stretch, but last night he was not last night, sorry, against Dallas, I apologize, when he was hitting all of his free throws. Let me tell you, that was one of the most impressive things that I've seen. People were challenging him in making free throws. Even his episode of Podcast P with Paul George, he mentioned his free throw shooting, and that was something that he said that people get on him about because he expects better of himself, and I love that. I'm so happy to hear that. As a player, that's all you want is you want your guy to get better, and I think that overall aspect, I'm hoping that he can keep us up. After 16 games, this wonderful thing. But like I've stated from the beginning, I want to see this stuff games 35, 46, 51.
Is that kind of where you're kind of start leveling out on your full opinion?
Well, it's more so endurance-wise. I'm curious to see when the minutes start really going up and the season goes along, I want to see how long the legs are going to be there. And I think that's a fair assessment.
Right.
As a big, he's not accustomed to playing these minutes, not even being the whole fulcrum of an offense. He never had that control with Silas. And you saw in the beginning of the year when, going down the stretch, especially the first 3 games, he'd kind of have a little bit of faltering at the end of games due to his stamina. And I've noticed something is that he's gotten better and better as times have gone on. He's still the team as a whole have definitely made defensive mistakes, and he's definitely included in that in terms of the away execution to close games defensively.
His away stats are holding up, though.
Yeah. I mean,
they
like,
actually
stats,
still hold up. Like road to home splits are still holding up really well.
Yeah.
All things considered.
I think that, as it goes on, if he continues like this, hey, man, shout out to you, bro. Like, I think you've been killing it. And I think that if it does continue at this pace and you continue this as the season goes on, I feel like if he's averaging 32 minutes a game currently, he'll probably end the season at around 34 minutes a game, probably averaging 23, 9.5, and 6. I feel like that's where he's going to end. I think he's going to end up scoring more as the season progresses once the offense kind of learns to roll along and not just depend on him in the post, but getting him into places off the ball as well. Hey, man.
Hey, right.
Yeah.
Will you indulge me for a second? Will you indulge me?
I'm indulging
okay,
you.
All right,
I am here. I'm literally here.
Okay, well, you have no choice. But our listeners as well, because you guys are listening. You guys are tuning in. Appreciate y'all. If Alp makes an all-star team, right, this year,
yeah,
the Rockets, let's say they get around the 6th or 7th seed and it holds, right? Coming from the worst team to the 6th seed, right? We get an all-star appearance. The numbers hold. Maybe even increase. Maybe the numbers increase. Maybe he'll end the season at 22 points per game as opposed to 21. I have a hot take.
Go for it.
I have a hot take. He will not win MVP. He will not win MVP. I could maybe, if the numbers hold, and the record does go accordingly, and the All-Star nod is there, and the national viewership and the narrative continues to garner the trajectory it's going. They're comparing him to Jokic. They just made a comparison video right now. Top 3?
I'll say this.
I think if the numbers hold and it slightly increases and we get more national attention, I think maybe I would say top 3, more realistically maybe top 5, but I think
center or player.
No. My dog.
Oh, MVP voting.
I'm talking MVP voting.
I think he can be in top 10. I don't know if he'll make top 5. That just varies.
If the numbers hold. If the numbers hold.
I will say this. If those numbers hold up and let's say we finish the 6th seed, he's all NBA 3rd team. I'll say that.
Okay, you know what? I'll take an even harder take. All NBA 2nd team.
Above Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic?
All NBA 2nd team.
Fair.
I hold.
All right.
Well, you never know. Maybe them could get hurt.
We'll
not that
see.
I'm wishing it. I'm not wishing injury.
I just don't think he's going to surpass them.
No. Not this season.
Year.
Not this season. It's very hard to break the top 2 mold.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next year.
What do you guys think? Is he going to make All NBA 2nd team?
Okay, yeah. Question, guys. Another question, y'all. Drop a comment below.
I'm curious.
Is he going to make an All NBA team? Could he be top 3 or 4 in MVP voting? Drop your comment. I'm curious. I do want to know about that. All right, GM, let's get ready to move on here. All right, let's go ahead and continue on, GM, with our last segment of the episode. Rockets versus Lakers on the road. Game number 8 on the road. Will this be the one? Can we finally get the one? In one? Could we finally get the one in 1 and 7? Be the one in 1 and 7. Can we finally get our road win this season? How about this? Let's do it like this. Let's do what we usually do. To get the first road win of the season. 3 key points. Prediction. Score prediction.
Okay. 1, execution down the stretch. The team cannot make the same mistakes they made last time in LA. I'm looking at you, Dylan Brooks. Going for that steal at the end of the game on LeBron. Just absolute horrible.
It's not it. It's
decision.
not it. He knows it.
I think that
he knows it.
It's not Dylan's fault, but if we're going to put it into microcosm of things, obviously that kind of shifted the momentum a little bit there, and that's what got them the 1-point victory. Overall, execution, like I stated, stay out of foul trouble. keep up the defense. Secure rebounds. Last night, the Rockets could not secure a damn thing against the Nuggets. And, height is definitely something that we are deficient at. But grab the boards. That's definitely huge. Get second opportunities in that regard. And number 3, we need to get Alp and Jalen going together in stride cohesively.
There you go.
That's what I want to see. I want to see those two. I want to see our stars, our money makers, go into LA, write their own script, and come up with a beautiful Hollywood ending and getting that first road victory in LA.
That was beautiful.
109-104 Rockets.
Ah, 109-104. I want to run through a wall right now. That was wow. That was a moment. That was a moment. That was a moment. Okay, good stuff, GM. All right, for me, I got my 3 key points. 1, I need them to out hustle their opponent. I think that is what's kind of been what's snake bitten this team on the road is the inability to out hustle the team in the last seconds, last minutes of the game. They get leads, they cannot maintain leads in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's second chance points that may be given up. That's lack of execution down the stretch, which talking points I've made earlier. So I need them to out hustle their opponents. Key number 2, which I think is very important, contain Anthony Davis. LeBron is gonna LeBron, and LeBron's in LA. So I'm not, LeBron can get 35. That's fine. 35, 36. He can get 40. LeBron's going to LeBron. I'm not worried about LeBron. AD, I think, needs to be contained. And what I mean contained is you can't let him get whatever he wants. You have to hold him off on the boards. Alperen Sengun's going to have to play a very, very, very tough defensive game. I think he can do it. I think he's very capable, and I feel like that's what's definitely going to be key to getting this first road win of the season. Key number 3, I want to extend upon what you were saying, get the moneymakers going, as in Sengun and Jalen. I want to see a Fred VanVleet pick and roll to perfection, and I think they sat him last night because they knew they were going to need him Saturday. So I think Fred's going to play, but this is my key here. I need all 3. And what I mean 3 is I want the 3 young men to come in there, and that includes Jabari. Jabari continue to be Jabari. When he applies pressure on that offense by hitting his shots, it opens up the floor for everybody. Our de facto, our X factor guy, when he starts playing well, when he starts putting his points together, this team becomes very difficult to defend. It opens the floor for Jalen. When Alp wants to go into the post, they can't double. They can't double as often because they'll leave the threat of Jabari with ball movement included. There's a lot of options here. But execution obviously being an important thing. But I do want to see our big guns come out and score. And then also a little tiny nugget. I would like for Dillon Brooks to not get in foul trouble. That would be very, very nice.
Just a tiny request. Just a small one.
Just a tiniest of requests. I want a little pepper on my pasta. That's it. Just give me a little lick of that.
Yeah.
Prediction. I'm 7-1 in this prediction, so I'm gonna keep it going. 118. 112. Houston Rockets do get the first one. I almost like looking at your reaction at this point. 118-112. The Houston Rockets get their first road win of the season. Guys, I want to know how y'all feel. Drop a comment. Let us know what your score prediction is going to be for Rockets versus Lakers. GM, before we get ready to go home here, obviously, one thing we have to give a shout out and an ad, of course, to Big City Wings one time. A little 2 for Tuesday action. My favorite place that I like to watch my Houston Rockets, if I, Houston Astros during the season, watch the Astros, get a little Houston sports action, or if you like NCAA or anything of that nature,
WWE?
Go check them out. Or WWE. Oh, no, there's no WWE on Tuesdays.
Oh,
by the way,
touche.
I was saying Tuesdays, but
sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you can go there on a Monday. Yeah,
NXT Tuesday.
Oh wow, good call. NXT Tuesday. Be sure to check them out. 2 for Tuesday. be sure to buy, that means buy one, get one, bone-in or boneless. I prefer the bone-in. I prefer medium and lemon pepper, and I am golden, man. 5 + 5, make it 10, add some fries, and I'm golden. What were your 2 flavors you go for?
Spicy ranch lemon pepper, and I forgot what the other one is. It's a gold.
It's like gold
sauce.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
It is
by the way.
delightful. I love it.
I'd like to shift. Yeah.
Spicy ranch lemon pepper. Thank me later.
Thank you. Thank them later. Yes. And then you can also be sure to go there on Sundays. They have all the NFL games on, including your Houston Texans. That's right. Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint, one time. GM, let's get ready to go home here. But before we go home, we have to do one more very important thing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to the GM. Happy birthday to you. Let's get him a win against LA. Woo!
Is it
birthday,
Friday
big
or
brother.
Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay,
so
Saturday.
it's not on your exact birthday, but on the
Okay.
eve of this episode release, it is going to be his birthday. No matter how you may feel, drop a comment and give my brother, my dear co-host, the GM, a very happy birthday right now.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. You're about entering your, I'm not calling you out, but you are entering your dream year. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm entering my Hakeem year.
You're
so
entering your
thank
dream
you.
year. You take
Nolan
that information as
Ryan,
you will.
what's his name?
Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell action.
There you go. The big 3-4. You're welcome.
Let's
I am
freaking
old.
get it. Let's freaking get it. No,
Absolutely.
age is just a number. It's a fine wine over here. So let's get ready to go home here. GM, give the people what they want. Give the people what they want one time.
Oh, I don't know if they're ready for it. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at JP_Mirabueno. Follow the podcast on Twitter and TikTok at Summit, SOMPOD. Follow us on Instagram at Summit State of Mind _POD. Make sure to follow our people, our brothers, our family at Apollo NBA and at Apollo HOU. And don't you forget to super kick that subscribe button. Boom.
All right. Nice. Good point. You can follow me on Twitter as well at Summit Commish. Shouts to our Apollo Podcast Network brethren that continue to kill the game. BTD, Beyond Diamond, the Crown Jewel of Astros Podcast. Be sure to give them your first listen for all Astros content. Shout outs once again to the Apollo Texans off the gridiron. CJ Stroud is killing it. Be sure to give them your first listen for all Houston Texans content. And of course, once again, we appreciate each and every one of y'all that continue to make us your first listen for each and everything related Houston Rockets as we end the book on episode 190, inching closer to 200. Let's get ready to go home here as our producer gives us go home cue as I end. I'm going to end this as I end every episode with a Go Summit, Go Apollo, and for the love of God, let's get our first road win on Saturday against the LA Lakers. Go Rockets. Oh, and one more thing.
Yeet.